What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports here on our SEC channel at the voice of college football, giving you my Week 4 power rankings in the SEC. Well, we saw a huge game, obviously, with Alabama and Florida this past weekend. Learned a lot about both of those teams, but really we haven't ramped up SEC play just yet. We also saw Georgia and South Carolina. Of course, that was an easy win for the Bulldogs. But we're about to start getting into real SEC play starting this weekend, and I think we'll learn a lot more about these teams. But as of now, these are the rankings, how I'm going to rank them, and we're going to start at the bottom, work our way up, starting at 11 through 14, the exact same as what we had last week. So Vanderbilt there at number 14, as they come in at 1-2. They're 1-2, but they're playing a lot better. The last couple of weeks they played much better than they did in that opener where they lost to East Tennessee State, which was just a real shocker. I mean, the way they were blown out in that game. That was very strange. But Vandy playing a little bit better now. South Carolina at number 13 didn't really compete against Georgia. Game was not close at all. Gamecocks, I think, pretty clearly here towards the bottom in the SEC. Tennessee at number 12. They got an easy win over Tennessee Tech. No real surprise there. Interesting quarterback situation there with Milton going down with the injury. Now Hendon Hooker steps in. What's that going to look like moving forward? That will be very, very interesting to watch because I'm telling you, the Tennessee team, they've got some talent and they've got an offense that I think is going to be able to score points. They've already shown that. Defense might let them down. Depth, I've talked about, I think could be an issue for them. But Tennessee's one of those teams that could pull off an upset or two this year. So keep an eye on the Vols. I've got Mississippi State at number 11, despite the loss to Memphis in a game that really they should not have lost if you go back to that punt return, that crazy play where the officials got it wrong. Mississippi State put up a good effort there against Memphis, but they do lose that game, and they dropped to 2-1 after a couple of. Mississippi State's kind of weird. The first game they really struggled against Louisiana Tech, and then in week 2 had a very impressive win over NC State. And then this past weekend didn't look great. Still had a chance to win. Memphis, pretty good team. They're 3-0, but yeah. These four teams, to me, have kind of separated themselves, or I should say everyone else has maybe separated themselves from these four teams, as I think that these teams are kind of clearly here at the bottom. Let's go now to the next teams, and we've got Missouri coming in at number 10. They are 2-1 now on the season, of course, suffering at that one loss to Kentucky. They beat Southeast Missouri 59-28 this week. You look at that score and you say, wow, they gave 28 points to Southeast Missouri, but it was really some late scores there. 21 of those points came in the fourth quarter. So Missouri took care of business, did what they needed to do. And again, they'll be dealing with some much tougher tests here down the road. Let's take a look at number 9. We got Kentucky there. They are 3-0, despite not a good performance. I'll be honest, I didn't really watch any of this game. There were so many other games on. I didn't expect this game to be a game that anyone would want to watch, honestly. But, yeah, Kentucky with only a 5-point win, 28-23 over Chattanooga. That was a tough game there for the Wildcats. I didn't watch it, so I don't really know what happened. But I think you've got to drop a team if they only beat Chattanooga by 5 points. So that's why Kentucky dropped a little bit. Still ahead of Missouri. They beat them head-to-head. LSU there at number 8 looked, I think, a little bit better this week against Central Michigan. Still a lot of work to do, though, especially on the defensive side of the ball. That offense, I think, is looking pretty good. I think, especially the passing game, looking like they are going to be able to score some points this year. Max Johnson playing well at that quarterback position. So LSU's a team, I think, still trying to kind of figure some things out, but they're a team that you're not going to want to play, I think, down the stretch. I think they're going to get rolling here soon. Auburn with a tough loss to Penn State. They go on the road, face the wideout, face a really good Penn State team, and they competed. They played really tough in this game. Just came up just short in this one. So I give them a lot of credit for the way they played against Penn State. In a game that was just kind of crazy. Had a ton of terrible calls by the refs in this game. Everyone's talking about how everything favored Auburn, but it really was both ways. I mean, there were so many bad calls in this game. And Auburn I thought Bo Nix played pretty solid in this game. He's not bailing out of the pocket like he did last year and making just crazy throws. So I think he's improved there. I think they really need some help at wide receiver. Some guys are going to have to step up for Auburn if they're going to be able to challenge the teams in the top of the SEC. I think Texas A&M's kind of in that same boat. They need some guys to step up, help out in this passing game. Haynes King down with the injury. The defense still playing pretty solid, but they're not running the ball as well as I thought they would. I thought Texas A&M might have the best rushing attack in all of college football this year, and we haven't really seen them reach that level. The offensive line, not really what they need to be. A team that still has a lot of potential, and again, a really good defense, but they have some question marks, and I think they're going to have a tough game coming up Saturday against Arkansas. Let's move on now to the top 5, and speaking of Arkansas, they're at number 5, still looking back to that win over Texas, a very impressive performance. And this week they beat Georgia Southern 45-10. KJ Jefferson had over 350 yards passing. If they get a passing game to go with that rushing attack and a good solid defense, watch out for Arkansas. I'm telling you, this team could be really good this year. We knew coming in that this would be a solid team. I lost a lot of close games last year. I don't know if I expected them to jump up into the top 5 like this quickly, but of course I also expected LSU and Texas A&M to be better than what they have shown. But still, Arkansas looking like a real contender in the SEC West. I think Ole Miss is also looking like a real contender. We thought after the Miami game that Alabama was just going to run away with this division, but I'm telling you, this thing's going to be interesting, I think. Ole Miss is going to be a good team. Arkansas, a good team. Don't count out Auburn and Texas A&M with that defense. I mean, it's a wide open division if someone can knock off Alabama. Now, that'll be the big question. Can anyone do it, of course? But Ole Miss's offense is looking pretty much unstoppable. I think their defense is better than what it was last year. I think they're going to have a real shot in that game against Alabama coming up in a couple of weeks. So they move all the way up to number 4 after a very impressive win over Tulane. And also, their win over Louisville looks better because the Cardinals beat UCF on Friday night. So you can now see that that's not going to be a horrible team. And so Ole Miss getting some credit for that win as well. Number 3 is Florida. Despite a loss, I think Florida actually moves up to number 3 because they showed that they could compete with Alabama, the best team in the SEC. At least that's the team we think is the best team. Definitely an argument for Georgia as well. But Florida was right there, had a chance in this game. I was very impressed with them, especially on defense. After Alabama got out to that quick lead, 21 points, Florida's defense really clamped down on them. They played so much better than they played last year against Alabama on that side. And they were able to run the football against that great Alabama defense. So really impressed with Florida. And they now look like a team that can compete with Georgia. It may not be Georgia running away with the East. I think the last couple of weeks we've learned that the SEC is maybe a little bit more wide open. It felt like after week 1 that Alabama and Georgia were just so far above everyone else that no one was going to compete with them. They'd both clearly go undefeated. But now, I'm starting to see some competition potentially for both of them. Florida, I think they've got a shot against Georgia. Ole Miss will have a shot against Alabama. Don't count out these other teams as well, like I mentioned. Number 2, though, is Georgia, 3-0. I think you could probably put them at number 1 if Clemson was not struggling so much right now. Clemson's not looking good on the offensive side. So now you look back to that Georgia game, and yeah, their defense is really, really good, but it was also because Clemson's offense is not very good. So Georgia there at number 2, but they looked really good against South Carolina. The offense is playing much better. Beat a really solid UAB team as well in week 2. Don't forget about that one. But Alabama there at number 1 for me after a win over Florida. It's hard for me to drop them. I know it was a game that was a little closer than we expected, or some people expected. Of course, some people expected Florida to win that game. But most people expected Alabama to take care of business. I don't know exactly what it was. Why did they, after they got off to that big lead, did they get conservative a little bit? Was Nick Saban has been, I'm not saying this is the case, but he's not been too happy with the focus of his team after that game against Miami. Could he possibly have been maybe letting them be a little bit more conservative so that the game will be a little bit closer to maybe not let them get too overconfident? I don't know, but it just seemed kind of weird. I just give credit to Florida, I guess, for the way they played on defense. Again, really starting to slow down that Alabama attack after a quick start for them. Nice adjustments for Florida. But again, question marks for Alabama. Not running the football as well as I think they would like to. And the defense against the run was not as strong as I thought it would be in this game against Florida. But as of now, I still think this is the team you've got to put at number 1 after they completely destroyed Miami and then also getting a huge win here against Florida. But it's going to be a really, really close race, I think, between Alabama and Georgia in these power rankings. We need to see Georgia against another quality team, see what they do, and then maybe we see some movement there. Maybe the Bulldogs take that #1 spot. And of course, how does Alabama play the next few weeks with, again, a very tough test coming up against Ole Miss. So those are the updated power rankings for the SEC heading into week 4. Would love to get your thoughts down in the comments below. Let me know how you would rank these teams